Hey there! I'm Roscoe the Raccoon, and this is the Campfire series by North Dakota State Parks. Come explore with me!
Hi, my name is Emily. I'm the interpreter here at Icelandic State Park, and today I'd like to welcome you to the North Dakota Parks and Recreation Campfire series video about the American bison, one of the most iconic mammals of the Great Plains of North America. Bison are some of the biggest mammals in North America, with bull bison growing to be 10 feet long and up to 6 feet high, weighing in at about an average of 2,000 pounds each. So these are really, really big and can be dangerous animals because not only do they weigh a whole lot, but they can also charge at speeds of 30 miles an hour. Bison used to be one of the most common mammals that you could find out here in the prairies, with herds reaching numbers of several thousand strong. They were considered to be one of the keystone species of these prairie grasslands, which means that they were one of the most important animals in making this a home for many other animals. And they do this in a number of ways. One of the most noticeable ways is when they wallow in the grass. Now that just means that they're finding a spot in the grass or in the mud that they just lay down and roll around. And as they do that, they create big dips in the ground. When a lot of rain falls, or in the spring when all the snow melts, these little holes become mini wetland ecosystems that provide water and shelter for all sorts of different animals and insects, as well as plants here on the prairies. Another side effect of them laying in the grass and rolling around is that all of the seeds from the grasses that they've picked up that's gotten stuck in their fur will all kind of slough off into that little hole. So when all those seeds go to germinate and grow into all sorts of plants like these, you're going to get not only a lot of different kinds of plants, but also a lot of new plants growing in general, which is great for the ecosystem to build itself back up. Another way that they're helpful for the ecosystems is something that they do after they die, or really what happens to all things after they die. Their bodies start to break down and decompose. That's not a bad thing. That is a good thing for the environment, because all of the nutrients that they have accumulated in their bodies, or that they've got stored up in their bones or in their meat or their organs or even their hair and fur, all of that breaks down and goes back into the earth for the plants to reabsorb and create even bigger, stronger, healthier plants the next bison or the next animal in general can eat and grow to be big and strong afterwards. So they help out the prairie not only in life, but also in death. The bison were incredibly important, not only for the prairie ecosystems that they help to keep in balance, but also for the Native Americans who have lived and continue to live out here on the Great Plains. To them, the bison provided all sorts of resources. Not only were their furs used to create really warm clothing in the winters, as well as create the sides of their homes, their teepees, but they also were a great source of food. Bison meat is really lean, which means that there's not a whole lot of fat in it, which makes it really healthy. In addition to that, their bones can also be really useful and helpful in making tools, as well as any sort of jewelry. It's because of these really strong connections that when the European settlers came here, and when the United States and Canada were setting themselves up to become these new nations, they created policies to essentially wipe out the bison as a way to really negatively impact and even kill off many of the Native Americans who were living out here on the plains and needed those bison for so many things. This mainly happened in the 1800s as the westward expansion across the plains was happening. But at the end of that time period, when the 1900s started, there were a bunch of new restoration efforts that started appearing. By that point, bison numbers, which had been about 60 million before 1800, were down to anywhere between 500 to only 1,000 individual bison living in the world in general. So a lot of individuals, such as Theodore Roosevelt, started working to create safe environments for these bison to start bouncing back. Many private ranches have been working and continue to work today to restore these keystone species by raising them on ranches, sort of like how people raise cattle on ranches today, as well as setting aside entire areas for these bison to live in an undisturbed ecosystem. The most iconic of these, of course, is Yellowstone National Park. Since then, A century after that, bison numbers have gone from only about 1,000 to 300,000 today. There are many individuals and organizations who continue to work to make sure that the bison comes back to these prairie ecosystems who so desperately need them. And ending on that positive note, I want to thank you all for tuning in to this Campfire Series video put on by the North Dakota Parks and Recreation Department. We'll see you next time.
Wasn't that fun? I can't wait for our next adventure. Until then, you know where to find me.